Hi, welcome to Hip Hop You Don't Stop 2021 X Also Cool Mag. This is our panel discussion and digital sleepover hangout time. My name is Malika Storga. I'll be moderating the panel today. I'm the co-founder of Also Cool. And yeah, I'm going to let all the guests introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mags, aka Passion Fruit. I am one half of Strange Fruits. I'm also the programming coordinator for Hip Hop You Don't Stop. I don't know what else to say, really. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here, by the way. Thank you. Thank you also, Cool Mag, for co-hosting this second digital sleepover. Instead of the rinky-dink Twitch setup we had last year, very DIY, we have the pleasure of being streamed by Neolabs this year. So shout out to Neolabs. And shout out to my teammate Chloe, who got me this beautiful plushie. Very excited to be here. We're on Zoom with the other half of Strange Fruits, who will be introducing herself. I believe, are you on mute? I don't know what's happening.
No, I'm not. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Is it happening? Yay!
Yay.
Hi, Naked Champagne, aka Dragon Fruit. So the other half Strange Fruit that Max was talking about. Happy to be here on my computer. All
Why
the
are
way
you on your
from
computer?
because I'm in New York right now. I'm in Brooklyn. Yeah. So,
That's
but
where
I'm
hip
happy to
hop
be
was
here.
born.
Yep. But I'm happy to be here. New York is wild. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna pass it on to Isha.
Hey, what's good? I'm Khadijah. I'm an artist, a dancer, event organizer, curator, also a DJ. I do holistic body work. Yeah, I'm excited because Strange Fruit is actually some of the first people I met, like in the music scene. We were all kids, like it's very cute. It's proper. So yeah, I'm gonna pass it up to Vaneva.
Bonsoir. I'm Fineva, your friendly neighborhood DJ. What can I say? I make beats. I've got this web radio show on Still FM called World Wide Web Transmission. And it's an honor being here. Thank you very much for having me. And thanks Neolabs for the really dope streaming setup. Up to Juice.
Okay. Hi. Hello. I stare. I don't know where to stare, but that's okay. My name is Joyce. My nickname is Juice. My artist name is Juice. I'm a visual artist, a musical artist, studying to be a graphic designer, and hip hop DJ. Also, sorry. And then I also do holistic energy healing in forms of like chakra stuff. But besides the point, I am a creative. I'm a pass it to Magi.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. My name is Magi Merlin. I'm a singer-songwriter. I am super stoked to be among such cool people tonight. Yes, very simple intro. Thank you so much.
What fell? What fell? We're all good. It's all good. Everybody had such wonderful intros. It's almost embarrassing that I completely forgot all of the things that I do on the spot.
Literally, we didn't say anything that we both do. We were like, well.
Sorry. Okay, let me start over. Fine. I'm one half of Strange Fruits. I'm the programming coordinator of this festival. I'm a visual artist. I make beats. I draw. I organize events. I founded a few things.
Should I go? Should I go back too?
What did you say?
I was like, wait, should I do my intro too?
That's what I said. I was like, no, how did I forget my whole CV real quick?
Damn,
It's
I'm
okay.
like,
We've all worked way too much. It is now time for relaxing and having fun. No CVs.
no
Um,
CVs.
so we did an interview earlier this month, I guess, kind of talking about what hip hop and other genres can mean to an artist, how they can become gendered, the different, like, I don't know, facets of the culture, and that's something we're going to continue to talk about tonight. So we have a bunch of different questions, and then we might get into some trivia as well, see if we feel like talking about astrology, perhaps. But we're going to start with celebrating Strange Fruits, which is the reason why we're all here. And so for those of you who would like to share, what is your earliest or favorite memory of Strange Fruits?
Well, like I said, they were some of the first people I met, like in the music scene, and I was very young, but I was doing this film about this event called the Cypher. It was like a hip hop and soul jam session. If you know, you know, especially like the first years. And I interviewed them, and it was very like everyone in that film. Like I still know to this day, you know. So, and every time I've seen them perform, I'd say it's my favorite. My favorite, yes. It's like one of the best things I find about like art and let's say community is like seeing people grow over the years. So it doesn't matter like how often you see each other, what you're doing, like you're still just you're there, you know, no matter what's happening around. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
You're on our remix tape also.
Yes.
You have to talk about it.
I mean, there's other questions.
Okay, my favorite memory of Strange Fruits was the Pride event that they performed at. We got backstage passes. We got to see a lot of like, we got to see a lot of cool people. And I don't know, it's like just seeing a lot of people kind of do the same thing, but like express the creative talents like to the public, like really inspired me a lot. And like new connections that I made in the past, like I'm actually good friends with like a lot of people through them. So I just want to say thank you and I love you. And yeah, I've known Naika for a very long time. And
Yeah,
I don't know how long, but that.
I
And then
like since like I think 2014, even like 13, I guess, because it was at
yeah,
Dawson. Yeah,
Dawson,
yeah,
Dawson.
a while back.
And then I knew Mags by association of Facebook, but never in person until like 2018. Oh, they can't hear anything because we're on the mic. Oh, so you can't hear what you said. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, I love them.
Well, my first memory, I don't know. I don't know who reached out to who on the internet, but it was the Lux Magna. I think you asked also cool to cover Lux Magna, and then we. I mean, most of our friendship has been online. I think I've seen you in real life like twice or something, which is like insane. Yeah, literally. But we talk like every other day. But that was like that event was really nice, and it was like just like a beautiful like chaos of people and astrology and like music and like pre-pandemic life. A memory has emerged.
So I just remembered I actually played Lux Magna, I think. It was like I did. I totally did. And it was a super fantastic event, and that's actually where somebody like after my set someone asked me if I was a water sign. And that's where that memory came from. We were talking about that earlier, so I thought I should mention it. I am a Taurus. That's
So moving on to the next question, which is kind of a big one. So take what you will from this and don't feel the need to say anything that will stress you out. So that being said, how has the pandemic affected you artistically and personally? Um,
That's a personal ass question. Next.
well, this is why I said, you know, it doesn't have to be stressful, but to continue it, what are some things that you're doing differently now that you weren't before? So, like, I'm thinking, like, how have you learned to, like, care for yourself and take care of yourself and others and this kind of thing? Because this is what I would like to know personally. But also, like, how are you feeling about this, like, idea of, like, back to normal or re-entering society or whatever? Like, because I don't think that there is a back to normal. And so then what, I don't know, what would you like the new normal to be? This is a lot of questions. So, Mags is ready. I'll say what I remember.
What have I started doing differently during the pandemic? Despite what it may look like, saying no more. Say no. No is a complete sentence. Hey, do you want it? No. Hey, we'd love for you to. No. There's a show. No. No. No, thank you, but no. You know, because the thing about the pandemic is that people have now realized how many things can be done online and remotely. So that means people are going to be sending more requests for you to do things online and remotely. So it just means you're going to burn out faster and more often. So you got to learn to say no more, because with events IRL, you know, there's only so many things you could do, like in a given week or a month or whatever. Online stuff, forget about it. There's something happening every hour all the time, you know? And like now, actually, how I got this job to be the festival coordinator, because last year I was working remotely from the United States doing social media for this festival. And then I ended up curating half of their lineup. And so then they gave me this job. So now you get thrust into so many great opportunities, but because that is a thing that is possible now more potently and more quickly, you realize, oh, how did what? You blink and you realize it's like 7 months later and you're doing 7 different things that you forgot that you agreed to. And you're like, oh, this is not good. So I learned to say, I would like to think I learned to say no more, but at the very least, that is my advice.
Do you want to answer any other questions?
The other questions were personal art. Pay me. You know, cut the check. Honestly, no. There's a lot of things that I do in the artistic realm that I do because I care about these events. I care about them having the platform that they deserve, and I feel often that when there are certain events that I feel like could benefit from just a little nudge in the right direction, I'll just go and do it. But then when it starts to snowball into me doing 5 other people's jobs, pay me. And that applies to everybody else who finds themselves in that situation, especially queer people of color, queer black people, trans black people. Like, they have a lot of things to contribute to every aspect of culture, and they're being wildly overused and underpaid. So that is basically where I'm at. But in terms of creative growth, I think I allowed myself to have more fun in creating the things that I do. There were the time where I felt a lot of stress and like, oh God, I gotta like put this out and do this and do that. And the next, like if you look at Strange Fruits, like the evolution between 2014 and now, in fact, today is the anniversary of when we put out our first album at this festival. Hip Hop You Don't Stop 2014, we released our first EP at the Centre Culturel Côte des Neiges. And you know, the first like 4 years of that was like, oh, we gotta stay relevant, we gotta say yes to every event, we gotta, you know, hurry up and do this album and blah 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 blah. And then when I ended up leaving, like I I wasn't removed from the country per se. I was turned away at the border, but that's another story. And I had to leave the other two fruits behind to, carry on whatever was left to do. It made us realize, okay, we got to prioritize certain things. We got to like not feel the need to say yes to everything and really focus on the things that we want to do. And then several years after that, especially on the tail end of like this first year of the pandemic, like, now that I'm back in Canada, Nika and I have, tried to resolve to like really get back into like the creative flow of like things that make us happy and not what will keep us relevant. So I think that's what I learned. Nika, I don't know if you wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that I've learned creatively about the pandemic and just like um I think I had this conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago. That was just like, oh, what do you think of like, doing your second album and like all of those things? Mind you, I am working on it, and like most of the songs are like pretty done being like composed and stuff. But I was like, oh, I'm really more in the mood of just like singing and like playing guitar and just like doing covers and just like posting that when I want to, posting that when I don't, like, not posting it when I don't want to. Because also they were just like, oh, it's been a while since you like posted something, and I was like, I don't always want to. And I think the pandemic made me realize that like sometimes I just want to be in my room and just like create something and then send 25 voice memos to Mags and be like, oh my God, I've created this riff. Oh my God, look what I've done like on this like loop pedal and blah, blah, blah. And like, with still in mind that like we could do something with it and like, and it happens. I'm like, this could be like a really cool riff for a Strange Food song, whatever. But there's not this like, we need to go write this down like pen to paper right now and just kind of have like more of this exchange of like this excitement of being able to just like go back to like, yo, this is cool, this is dope, let's exchange, let's talk about it, let's just jam. um and also like learning how to like just really enjoy doing it like by myself as well. And I've also had like more chances of like getting more gear for myself, which I'm like very privileged to do. Either it was like given as gifts or like was able to like save up money for it, and it's just allowed me to be creative in like different ways as well. So yeah. And I think I kind of like agree as well with Mags of just like learning to say no more often in this pandemic, because yeah, like I do like so many different things with just
She
like
do too
being,
many things.
yeah, with like being like a youth intervention worker, with being in Strange Foods, with being in Black Healing Fund, with being in like fruition, and like just trying to find moments to just be like, actually, this ain't gonna work. I need to sleep, you know. Um, yeah, just kind of in the same lane as what Miles was saying.
Any of the other questions?
What were the other questions?
We said there were like 25 in one.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, this is.
Um, so the first question was about the pandemic in general, personally. Um, so for me, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like on the other side, I know some people became more prolific, like producing more, but me, it was like the opposite. I didn't feel like um, I felt like living and like healing more than producing like a machine. I realized that before the first lockdown, I was doing a lot, too much. And even though I'm still doing a lot, the time that we had, like I'd say specifically during confinement and lockdowns, I really appreciated being able to slow down in some ways, like physically speaking, going to so many places. Um, yeah, but there's a lot to it. It's hard to like speak about it easy way, I would say. I also became less attached to like labels, like, oh, I do this, so this is, so I'm like valid. It's like, no, I can be nothing. Like, it's okay. Also, I think when previous generations saw like certain ages as like, oh, you're like an adult, you have to have everything figured out. But I think the pandemic made a lot of us realize like, oh, time and age and all these things are trivial. And even if we knew before, experiencing it like on another level, learning how to be is actually my priority. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to remember the other questions. Okay. Um, yeah, also understanding like how much you give out versus how much you receive, and removing yourself at times, and that could be saying no, and that could be just having to be patient with things not being like an easy thing to go through, like just, yeah, being able to recover from everything. I would say, because a lot has happened personally and universally. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
What was the question again? Okay. Um, well, before the pandemic, I was working as a DJ in bars, and so the bars closed, and I lost my job as a DJ. So while in like as the like lockdown started, and we weren't sure how long that was gonna last, I wasn't sure like how long I was gonna stay without like a DJing job, and that kind of puts you like in limbo, I guess. And so like months passed by and like no perspective, like going back to bars, going back to like this normal thing. So I started before DJing on Twitch. I actually did a few events on Zoom because that's where all the hype was, on Zoom. And actually my first Zoom DJ set was for like my uncle and auntie, and so they invited a bunch of people on Zoom, and they were like talking about their job and their kids, and they said like at some point just like start playing some music, and that's what I did. I started playing some like music, and everybody just stopped talking and just like vibing for it, and that lasted for like 3/4 of a song, and then they wanted to talk again, right? But it's kind of hard to like gauge how loud the music should be through a Zoom. You're not hearing, so it was awkward, and I kind of left that Zoom call, and it was kind of like not the best first experience on Zoom, you know. So I didn't do that for a while. But then I think it was around the Halloween time. I wanted to have a Halloween party. And what I like about Zoom is that I can invite my friends from all over the world on the internet. They're like my friends in France, or like in Dubai, or like in Ottawa. And because of the pandemic, and because we started like actually gathering online, like I was already doing that with my friends when we were gaming. But now I got to like connect online with like people from really different spheres of my life, but I'll bring them together to enjoy music. That was honestly a great experience. I'm thinking about like I did that one time for Halloween, then I did that again for my birthday party, and that's when I realized like maybe I should like start mixing online more often. So I started a Twitch channel. And I kind of have a love-hate relationship with streaming. Like, I like it a lot, but whenever you have to like focus on like growth of your channel, I'm like, it's not that I don't appreciate growth. I don't like asking people for money, you know? And growth comes in terms of like subscribers or like building hype over like essentially people. Like there are other ways to like have numbers without people like paying money on your Twitch channel, but it's definitely a big part of like having your channel and branding yourself. So what I do like about Twitch is like interacting with people, and at first I thought like my thing on Twitch would be like accepting requests, but Twitch chat isn't that big on like asking song requests, at least not for DJs, I guess. And so I just started DJing every Friday on Twitch, or every day of the week that I was available, and I called it a vibe o'clock. And it was that like end of the week thing, and just like party 5 à 7 and have a little bit of fun on Fridays. And one of the things I like the most about it is that my parents would come in the Twitch chat and like and talk with me and just like having a good time. And um, my dad is in Ottawa and my mother is in Dubai, and it was kind of funny how like my dad, like he came early in the stream and then he went to bed, but then my mother would wake up in Dubai and she she came on stream, and but sometimes they would overlap and say hi to each other. Fun times. But then I stopped doing Vibe O'Clock because I was moving, changing apartments. And I was hoping that like with summer coming and bars reopening, I would get like IRL DJ opportunities again, but that didn't happen. And so I started looking at like where can I bring growth in my life. And I just got the news this week actually that I'm going back to school in cybersecurity, so I'm pretty stoked for that. Yeah. And rest of the question, yeah, growth. Like not thinking. And during the pandemic, I was. You kind of get reminded that like when you're an artist, you don't have to like get paid to be validated of an artist. You're an artist just because you create. And I'm not a DJ just because like I stream on Twitch. I can be a DJ, and I'm gonna stream on Twitch just because I want to. And yeah, that was that. I guess that I would say that was my pandemic experience so far.
Okay. For me, the pandemic, how that affected me artistically, I guess, and personally. I guess I'll start with art. Well, it was both because I want to be an artist, but just the way it affected me like shifted. So before the pandemic, I was working at like a video game company as well as just doing music part-time. I was getting a bunch of music gigs in Montreal and Ottawa, and potentially getting to do gigs like in other places in Canada and stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and I was just kind of in a limbo. I wasn't in a bad place. I wasn't in a good place. I was just like neutral in the middle. I was trying to figure out like how did I want to present myself to the world as an artist, since a lot of the things as an artist you can't do anymore. So that involved a lot of research in terms of like, should I make a website? Like what type of art should I make that people can like what type of art should I make that I like? Music was also a very difficult endeavor because I like to get in my head a lot. Not that I like, sorry. I don't like getting in my head a lot, but I do that sometimes. And when it comes to art, when it comes to music, I tend to be a perfectionist, so I don't release anything because I'm like, it needs to be on top, like top notch, like perfect and shit. And then I had to, during the pandemic, I just had to learn that like nobody's perfect. It's impossible to be perfect. Sure, there's like, I like make video games references a lot. So like there are some people, let's say for Guitar Hero, they can get 100% multiplayer. 100% like accuracy, and then they'll be fine, they'll be perfect, cool. I'm not that person though. I'm the type of person that can get like 100 accuracy, but like not the greatest multiplayer. But I like playing Guitar Hero because it's fun. Like, why the fuck not? It's music. You're pretending to play guitar. How cool is that? So, yeah, just during the pandemic, I had to learn that like I really just need to be compassionate with myself, because as much as I see my music in a different light, like some people do get inspired by the things that I make. So that gave me a little bit of hope that like, okay, I can make things and be happy for it, and then share it and potentially collab and share with other people as well. But still, I'm on that route where I'm like, I want to be an artist, but how do I want to be an artist? So right now I'm taking graphic designing, seeing if that helps me a little bit. Trying to see if I can Twitch stream my art, but that involves confidence and me trying not to be shy. And and like, I guess how the world, the world? Who's that? What world? Everything's so different. Everything, the new normal, old normal, nothing makes sense to me. So at this point, I'm just like, I might as well just vibe and do the best that I can. Yeah, and like, yeah, and if opportunities come up, opportunities come up. And if I'm like, fuck it, let me just do my thing, I'm gonna do my thing. But when I'm ready, I don't know when that will be, but it'll happen. So I don't know if I answered any of the questions, but I'm gonna pass the mic anyway.
That was perfect. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Amazing. Yeah, so for me, before pandemic, I worked at a hotel slash cafe situation. And honestly, the pandemic, and as I said this, I'm aware of the privilege that I have, that it was honestly, I like needed to stop doing things. I had to like take time to like figure my shit out as a person, as an individual for like, I think 6 months or however, I don't know, maybe 6 months. I wasn't really doing music. I was journaling and like reading books and like getting to know myself. And I think having that time made me like a much better musician. One thing I did learn, yes, is a universal income is needed, because people need to just chill out and like figure things out for themselves, you know? And I found like before the pandemic, I would try and do music. I would try to like fit everything in and also work so that I could survive. And it was extremely distracting. Like I would not be able to be doing what I'm doing now if I didn't have that time, honestly. I think would have taken a lot longer for me to get here. But yeah, it's definitely something that I learned, and I hope that happens for everybody. And yeah, I think, is there other questions? Sorry, I keep forgetting. Oh, amazing. Thank you so much.
I've learned a lot of things and have had some good reminders, so thank you all for that. So to Juice and Khadijah, how did you approach remixing Green Apple?
Because we need context. For those who don't know, 2 years ago, on the same day today, Strange Fruits released a remix tape of Green Apple called Green Apple, the remix. Very creative, I know. And it involves 6 remixes of our very first song, Green Apple. I did one, and Khadijah did one, and Juice did one, and Backwash did one, and Shem did one, my son, my dear son, and Little Cashew did one. So you guys can find that on Bandcamp and streaming and all that stuff. And they were all so different. And I was so impressed with how everyone took to Green Apple, which is, you know, like a kind of upbeat neo soul, like feel good song, and turned it into something completely different. So yes, so I would love to hear from both of you how you approached doing that.
So when I got the stems, so it was just their voice. It was like the a cappella version. And if you know like my taste in music, you know that I really love like a cappella, like also acoustic type of material. So on top of that, like what they were talking about, it was just so pure, like, and the way that their three voices like came into like unison, it was just beautiful. And what they were saying was essentially like kind of like a reminder to it sounded to me like a spell of like coming back to yourself and like trust and like love, you know. And so when I started producing it, I actually made it very quickly. It was just like after just fixing like the mixing that took more time, but like making the beat itself was very quick because I didn't want to like go with their voices. I wanted to bring it to somewhere else, but I wanted it to like kind of, because they're guiding you, I wanted the music to guide you somewhere, like take you on a trip. And I like that type of music in general, even as a DJ. So yeah, I included also like samples, chants, like tribal chants. And yeah, you should check it out. But and the way it just all worked out perfectly at the end of the track, and I put like little drops of water. And also you should check out the visuals. Mags made visuals for videos for all of them, and it was anime, and like the one that you chose for mine was just perfect. It was like dumb on key, like it was freaky. It was freaky. It was just perfect. So yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna be very transparent. I had a tough time with this song. I just I could not. I'll okay. FL Studio, not my thing. Do not like it. Will never try again. Love Ableton. Sorry, I'm sorry. Switch to Ableton. Love it a lot. Right now.
I'm so dead.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Like, Ableton was just giving me such a difficult time. I was just trying to do things in certain ways, and it just wasn't working out. So I was just like, all right, fuck it. Let me just do things. So the way that I make music is I tend to make a lot of melodic chord progressions. I don't know if that means anything to people, but I'm just saying it anyway. So just like a lot of notes put together, and do I remember? When I tell you, I did not like the song to the point where I just did not want to listen to it. But it gave me inspiration because I am working on the song, but in another format. But I've only shown Mags. Yeah, and then I never mixed it. I gotta mix it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mix it, and then you want to put it out? Okay. I'm gonna mix it and put it out. But yeah, a lot of my music, I want it to sound like you're in space. I want it to sound like you're in a video game. One of the two. If both of them work, that's great. So that's mostly my influence for music. If I had more love for the song that I made, I would talk a lot about it, but I'm so sorry. I just can't. You should check it out anyway. Check out the whole. Check out the other songs though. They're great. They're awesome. Check out. Listen, I'm not.
Go listen to them. All great.
Anyway, yeah. It was an experience. It was a learning experience. It made me learn that even if I don't like something, I at least finished it and I at least put it out so I can get criticism in the ways that I need. I can criticize not harshly, but I can criticize myself in the ways that I need to get better. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
It's full range of emotions in this question. So for Fineva and Magi, what are some of your more unorthodox artistic practices in relation to your respective music scenes? And so we've talked a little bit about like DJ stuff or like, I don't know, like coming into the music scene or whatever. But I think the music industry needs to change structurally, and I would like to hear your thoughts about this.
I like the last part of the question. Um, I'd say, I guess, not having my music on Spotify is a statement, I guess. The music industry definitely needs to change. You see it often on Twitter how like it absolutely makes like almost no sense for artists to have their music on Spotify because streams are severely underpaid, and like the biggest problem in the industry right now is everybody is paying for music, but the artists aren't getting paid. So cut out the middle person, and so that's why my music is only on Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and but that goes back to my previous point where I said like profit or music profit in like art doesn't like define who I am as an artist. So like uh, I've come to a point where like in huître, an oyster, yeah. Some of them are like deep in the ocean and they're like sealed, but inside of that there's like a little pearl, but it's only available if you go deep in the ocean and you're able to like open it. And I like I like the perspective of putting my music in that kind of setting, and and I was talking with one of my music teacher, and we have a session, and our sessions usually go like, "Yo, how do you make this sound?" And like I show him some music, and we did that with like I showed him a beat, and like he tells me like, "Bro, where'd you find that beat on YouTube?" And the thing doesn't even have like a thousand plays, you know. But as a DJ, that's always the music you want to find, like the most like, and that's what I want to find. And when I realized that's also like how I want to present my music, that I guess that goes like in total opposite direction of how the industry wants you to present your music. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually okay. So I definitely 100% agree about the streams. Oh my God, I think we all do. That definitely is. It's kind of evil. I also think that like the music industry is sort of rigged for the most part, and it always is dependent on who you know. Even if your music's like super sick, it's like, does the right person think it's sick? And then that's when you can really start making waves. So that kind of sucks. I think the internet kind of attempts to alleviate that, but I mean, industry is always trying to rig everything. So even if like with TikTok, that algorithm, it kind of presents this idea that you can potentially go viral even if you don't know anyone in the industry, but they're finding a way. Oh, I can sense it. Yeah. Yeah, unorthodox. I don't know if I have any unorthodox practices. I mean, I lately have been like getting really inspired by the books I've been reading in terms of like writing and stuff like that, and I find I often find non-musical like things as inspiration for my writing, so maybe that could be unorthodox. Yeah, lots of like topics in books like existential crises. I was reading like Eckhart Tolle, and like spirituality is like super inspirational to me. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so earlier in the week, we discussed in the article that we did, we discussed the relationship between R&B, soul, and hip hop. And in this interview, it was brought up that the idea of conflating these genres is mostly a product of those who are considered to be outside of the culture. And so we're wondering sort of like, how do you all feel about this? Just kind of like the conflating of genres, how do they influence each other? Who kind of decides what is what? And like maybe what do you think are some of the like sort of cultural elements that impact these perceptions?
So, if any of you at home read the Also Cool Mag article that was released on Monday, you know that what I mentioned, well, that what both Nika and I mentioned is that the conflation of R&B, soul, and hip hop comes from the fact that all of these things are based in the Black diaspora. Hip hop culture specifically comes from the Black American and Latinx communities. And even within the Latinx communities, there are a lot of Black Latinx, communities that have music that are inspired or completely directly correlated to African music. So, on the one hand, it makes sense that people lump hip hop, R&B, soul together because it's associated with us directly. Like, we'll play them all in the same night and no one will blink an eye. And a lot of our social cues come from there and things like that. And obviously hip hop samples a lot of soul music, R&B as well, and jazz and all these things. But then when that starts to happen within the community, it also starts to happen from without. So on the outside, you have non-Black people seeing this happen and thinking, well, all of it's the same music, and it kind of homogenizes it in a way that doesn't make sense to us. And this is something that happened with Strange Fruits a lot in the first few years that we existed. I remember there was this one show we did, I forget the name of it. It was specifically labeled a hip hop show, mind you. And the only remotely close to hip hop song we had out at the time was The Wanderer. And Nika originally wrote that almost like a spoken word piece and set it to my beat. So it's like it kind of worked as a rap. You see what I mean? And other than that, we did that one song and like two other really pop songs, So then the review of the night came out and they were said, oh, this artist did this artist did that. When it came to Strange Fruits, it's like they weren't trying to throw shade, but they made it very clear that us being on the bill was an interesting choice because we weren't qualified as hip hop at the time. And I think the reason why we got booked was because we came from No Bad Sound Studio, which deals mostly in hip hop, and because we were three Black kids doing music over beats. And they were like, okay, yeah, that's hip hop. And I was just like, no, we didn't put out a proper hip hop record until 2016. So like 2 years later. So in terms of the question of how do people outside of the culture feel about the conflation, it becomes like a question of defining who does the culture belong to and who is a guest. Because one of the things that people say all the time in hip hop is respect the architects, right? Respect those who came before us, those who put down the foundations of hip hop culture, especially surrounding soul and R&B, which again is predominantly Black. So I'm gonna pass the mic on to. Well, Nika, did you want to add to that, sir? Oh no, did you freeze? Oh no, no. Retrograde's not for a few more days. Oh, oh no. Well, while we figure that out, I'm gonna let somebody else take the mic.
Yo, my bad.
Ayo.
I don't know what happened, but the internet just like, I'm literally right next to the router.
Kid. Wow.
Yeah. Did you say something directed to me?
Yes, Nika. I asked.
Literally, I couldn't
I asked if
like.
you had anything to add based on like the interview that we did earlier with Also Cool Mag about the conflation between hip hop, R&B, and soul.
Yeah, and I think like jumping, and from what Mags was saying, then at the end of it, it comes back to just thinking that like Black people and Blackness is a monolith, and it's not, and we're not. And also, I think that also perpetuates the fact that like when Black people do venture out of those three jars, that is just like, oh yeah, it's all the same. Then it's just like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing in that jar? Like, how are you doing like rock? How are you doing metal? How are you doing punk? How are you doing country? And and I have like literally like saying country, I have like Lil Nas X in my mind, and it's like literally those are also heavily Black.
We invented those.
Literally invented those, and I think it's like harmful in that way when it comes that is that kind of like homogeneity that is being done when it's like outside of the Black diaspora. And like within, like when I was talking with in the article, yes, it does make sense because all three genres are done and created by Black people. And I think another thing that I was saying is that also hip hop is very expensive in a way that it's, you know, it samples a lot of like soul music, jazz music, blues music, R&B music, and also African beats. And there's something very like essential, something very like recognizing the past, doing something within the present, and literally talking about what could be. And I think it's very important to like recognize that, but also not just being like, oh, well, it's like one and all the same. And like Max was saying, that happened a lot with Strange Fruits. And it took us a like long time, like we were not comfortable with that. And we were like having a hard time just being like, we were like literally all the time, like, I guess we rap? I guess we're rappers? I guess we're, and it was, and like we, for also just like taking another thing to put into that, we were very young. We were like very, very young. And when you're very young and you're like growing as a person and you're also growing as an artist, to just be like put in those boxes without your consent is really, it's a lot. And it's a lot. It puts a lot of pressure on defining like who you're trying to be, who you're not trying to be, who you're trying to figure out about yourself. And so, yeah, I think there's aspects of it that like obviously like make a lot of sense, but when it is like done with the lens of just like white folks, it's just like, again, you're just trying to like make Blackness and Black people a monolith for your own like gain, for your own consumption, for your own idea of like what is like good and okay and recognizable Blackness, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I think I'll mention the aspects of like eras and you know, depending on the history of each genre, like even though they've had ways that they like connect since the beginning, you know, over time, and the older a genre is, like the more it's gonna evolve and adapt. So I think like when genre started, they would be like, okay, this is what this is, and nothing else that sounds any bit different can't be that. And I think over time, like a lot of artists who've been inspired by like different genres, they will, when they create their own style, there's elements of different genres within it. And I think to people who maybe don't have that same like musical history, like knowledge, they get confused really fast and they don't understand because they can't put you like in a box as an artist if you don't choose a genre. But like the reality is that over time, as many genres as there are, these will keep expanding, but obviously like don't forget where it all started and don't forget who started it. And you know, like, yeah, like as much as like you don't have to label yourself, at the same time I think it's important to recognize what is it you're doing and where did you learn this way of like expressing or proceeding or like having that relationship of your voice to the music, you know. And sometimes that process takes a very long time. So that's why I say like, especially for like people who are guests in the culture, like myself, like I would say that it's important to take your time and like not jump the gun and be like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, because you know, there's a lot of respect that goes into it and understanding of yourself and like, what do you have to say truly, and should you say anything at all, you know? Like, as much as you're consuming, you know, you don't always have to reply to something that you're receiving. Yeah, I'm pass it on.
Oh, okay. Ooh, yeah. Sorry, I'm always speechless when it's my turn because I'm like trying to think of something to say. But I have to agree. Yeah, I basically have to agree with everyone. Like, being lumped into a category is not really the best in terms of like learning new music and learning new genres. I personally don't think I fit in the hip hop community or in the R&B community because my music is a little bit tad weird. So I like to call it Afrofuturism, and even then, like Afrofuturism has a history behind that, where like like paying homage to like the people who created that type of like genre, I guess you could say, is very cool, very interesting, and could help you develop your style a little bit more. I have a book in my bag. I wanted to put it here, but we're in the middle of a panel. I'm not just gonna randomly get up. But the book is called Afrofuturism, and it talks about how like sci-fi and how sci-fi has like not really included Black people into like their topic. So there's like a researcher who started doing her own research on sci-fi and how like the Black community like integrates themselves in, and there's like a chapter on music, and there's like, and then in the chapter it talks about how this person literally believes that he is from Saturn or Jupiter, like mentally believes that he is from another planet and creates his music through that perspective. And through him, a lot of people like kind of branched out into it. So like Erykah Badu, Janelle Monáe, Jimi Hendrix, George Clinton, just like a lot of people were like influenced by this like one person. So knowing that this one person created a whole generation of just like inspirational music that's like different from the other is really cool. But just like having people be inspired by this but not knowing who that creator, I guess, is, it's kind of, I don't know, it's like you're forgetting the past, but the past is kind of important to remember if you want to like keep evolving, if that makes sense. Not sure what else to say. I'm gonna pass it to. Okay.
Yeah, that all made a lot of sense. I think everything that Nika said also was really beautifully said. I find it so insane that places like the Grammys and stuff, they just slap the word urban and then that's the Black music. It's offensive. And it's I think offensive to art in general to try and box people in. I think it limits it's limiting what people can do and what they're capable of, and especially the Black community that is just full of like really fantastic artists and musicians who are always like itching to create new things. So it's like, why just cast us as this one thing? That is my word on that.
I agree with everything being said. I just didn't have anything to add, so.
I think the only thing that I can add, like, as like I don't make music at all, and I cannot make music. Sir, you do not know. But I write about music all the time, and part of my job is to, you know, find the right adjectives for what I'm hearing, and I try really hard to go outside of the genres that are in the press kit, because I've seen one too many interviews with artists where they're really frustrated that they get pigeonholed into one genre or another, and then they also are not able to evolve as an artist and take their music somewhere else in the future if that's what they want to do. And I think that artists should be allowed to do this. Like, doing the same thing forever is maybe unhealthy. I don't know. We can argue about this later. But I just, it seems like to me, genre as a concept is kind of like non-existent anymore, and I see writing that describes music in so many more interesting ways. Like, I try and write my intros to things as like, imagine yourself in this really specific environment or situation, and like, this is how you're feeling, and that's what the music sounds like, because that's what it is to me, and I know that that's what it is to other people. And to say, oh, this is a hip-hop artist from Montreal, it's kind of like, it strips away so much. Like, it's I know this already, that's why I'm looking at this interview, so give me something more. And I don't know, this is my opinion. But like, whatever, genre is like non-existent. And like, I think someone who's like a really great example of this is Backwash, because like and it's something she's kind of talked about too, is like people pigeonhole her as one thing or another, but she does so well in like horrorcore, like metal communities, and then also like all the communities that we've been talking about. And these are not communities that often overlap, but I think that the fact that she's able to do this and continue to like develop her craft into this like insane, beautiful world, it's just like a perfect example of why these things are silly, you know? Anyways, this is the last question, but what is your stance on the queer representation in the Montreal hip-hop scene, and what changes would you like to see and how? And I'd like to expand that to like the general like creative or like music community, arts community, whatever. Max is ready.
Of course I am. I got a lot to say. So, if we want to talk about the latter half of that question in terms of queer representation in the music and artistic scenes in Montreal in general, is very white, it's very skinny, very cis-normative, a lot of purple hair, you know, turf bangs and piercings and whatnot, and yeah, anti-O and all that shit, which is great. You should be anti-O, but like anti-oppression. And in the hip hop community, it's much, much worse because, first of all, if y'all didn't know already, hip hop as a culture, despite being, you know, fight the system, blah, 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 still upholds a lot of very archaic, oppressive, you know, beliefs in terms of the LGBTQ community. A lot of homophobic lyrics, a lot of homophobic artists, and not enough queer and trans artists feel safe to express themselves in that culture, much less in Montreal, I think. I think a lot of the times when a queer artist expresses themselves in hip hop, they are known first as a queer artist before being known as a hip hop artist. When Strange Fruits started doing more queer events, we found a lot of, you know, friends, we found a lot of new followers, but it became, they're that queer group that happens to do hip hop, you know? We didn't just get to be hip hop, or as we like to call ourselves, alternative chill soul. We were a rarity. First of all, three black femmes in a group. 3 black femmes in a group, self-managed, doing hip-hop, writing all their own shit, producing all their own shit, and c'était du jamais vu at the time, okay, in Montreal. So now, when it comes to like queer representation in Montreal, you don't really have that outside of the Anglo sphere. Like, you got artists like Holly, you got artists like Backwash. Most queer artists that I know in Canadian hip-hop aren't even in Quebec. They're all in Ontario. You know what I mean? And then you got a few DJs, but then like when you look at artists like Sarame, for example, who is a queer artist but does not label herself as one. She's one who's mainstream and doesn't need to be part of the queer community to thrive. Like, she's doing great on her own, and she just gets to happen to be queer, you know, very happy in her WLW relationship. They're very cute, by the way. If y'all follow them on Instagram, adorable. But no one necessarily labels her as a queer artist. So it has a lot to do with accessibility to certain success, right? Where it's like, how successful do you need to be before you just get to be an artist instead of a queer artist? Look at Backwash, though, on the other hand. Super successful. Like, if you saw her progress, like on a chart, it would look like the letter J, because it's just wild to me, you know? But she got so many of her starts within like the queer and anti-oppressive communities. And then when she started coming up, it's like, this is a trans representation that we need, and blah, blah, blah. And she got pigeonholed a lot for that reason, you know? So it's like, do I become successful first before I start talking about queer issues that affect me and my kind? Or do I have to start from the bottom doing gigs with the queer community and then coming up and then being like the poster child for the queer success story in Montreal? Look at Keitra. A black, gay, Haitian man just won 2 Grammys, but nobody is referring to him in regards to the queer community. So I'd like to see what y'all make of that.
Does Nika want to say?
Does Nika want to say? It's because you're not here, and I forget sometimes. I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead,
miss you,
man.
friend.
I'll be back soon.
Come back. Vas-y. Do you have something to say?
No, I'll let the others
Oh, okay.
others say stuff if they want to.
Wait. I think there's far from enough in Montreal. I think already being like direct descendants of, let's say, not everyone, but I'm saying a lot of us, are immigrants or children of immigrants that come from countries that like same-sex marriage is still illegal or punishable by death or otherwise. It makes it so that like not only do we have to have that like appreciation of ourselves within the system, but also within our cultures. Like so, it's many. We're fighting like many different cultures that are telling us be like this, be like this. So a lot of us, it takes more time, like to come like. To be able to assert who you are in a way that is like complete within the society. So if you look at that within music, you'll see why, maybe partly why at least, there might be less artists who are not only getting recognition, but also who are able to produce music, because oftentimes also sometimes people are kicked out of their homes for being queer and or trans, like at a young age, and then they have to focus on survival, so the arts will come second, for example. Also, I'll say, Montreal specifically, hip-hop as a whole, we know is very like male and cis dominated, but in Montreal, it's the same thing. And so on top of like oftentimes finding, when we talk about, let's say, hip-hop and all the subgenres within hip-hop, being the only like woman or showing like person, presenting person in a room full of men is already like difficult. Even, it doesn't matter how much confidence you have in yourself, or what it may be, it's hard. It's just hard. So that being one thing, and then on top of that, like having like other identities on, like you have to exit that whole scene, and then you have to find your people. But like, who are your people? We're all struggling and like figuring our shit out, right? So that's why I really hold, I would say, like the queer artists that I work with or that I have like kinship with, I hold it extremely dearly, because to be honest, during the pandemic, those are the people that held me down, and vice versa. I think like we're not like, we actually see each other, fully, not just based on our perception. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now and pass it on.
I can't talk so much about queer representation, but I can talk about my queer experience maybe in the music scene. All right, TLDR being non-binary is being invisible. Yeah, and that sums up a lot of the experience. So there was that one time where we had loop session woman. Um, I guess I'm also curious to hear your opinion on that. But I'm gonna say my experience with loop session woman. I got there, and maybe that also has to do with how I view the world as a non-binary person. But I just got there and like made beats. It's loop session. You have a heart, you make a beat. I go there. All right, let's go. And then at the end of the night, I've got someone telling me, shouldn't you like have not played beat and like let the spot for someone who's less experienced than you in making beats because you already take part of like loop session all the time. You're already like at all the loop sessions. Why did you feel the need to like participate in that loop session woman? And I had to remind that person that like I'm non-binary and I finally had like a spot and like a place where I was accepted explicitly as a non-binary person, because as a non-binary person you just get like accepted everywhere, and that's not like, and anyway, that was part of my experience. I could also talk a bit more about like some woman's experience at the loop session, but I'm not sure if I can do so without firing some shots. So
Nobody ever said shit.
all right. I think it's time for like some constructive and critical feedback about the last loop session event that happened. So I don't know about how you girls feel about going to the loop sessions, but
Is this the IRL or the online?
I'm talking about just the general loop session as and you haven't.
I haven't gone and I felt like I should have, but I didn't feel like there was. I didn't. I guess I just didn't feel like I would be fully comfortable, and I'm at a point in my life where like I need to be fully comfortable. I mean, I'll try it, but.
Okay, because there are a few women who shows up at loop sessions like regularly, and the last IRL event we had something really awkward happened on stage, and to me it's it cannot go like when there's someone like I don't want to like say names or anything, but like if there's only one woman on stage and she can't name the other woman who actually shows up regularly to the loop session, I'm very confused and perplexed why she's the one being on stage. But I organized Loop Sessions Ottawa, not Loop Session Montreal. And maybe I should have talked with these guys about this in private, but whatever. I had to be said. And like, I don't think they're the only one who needed to hear my take on like yeah, like it overlaps to like a lot of things, like Max said, and I think I've said enough.
Okay, my experience as a queer person in this community, very white, very like, what was it? I just like, I'm looking at like the hip hop stuff events that's been happening this week, and every event, Max can attest, I've literally said, where are the niggas? Like, there's none, there's zero. Like, I'm just like, where are my people? Like, I just want to see a lick of melanin at least at one of these events. But there's some, there's some, but most of the time there isn't. And sometimes going to these, like, I'm the type of person, I like being a hermit the majority of the time. But if I want to socialize, I'll go to an event specifically either to check out the space or check out the music, or I guess to socialize, but I'm not great at socializing anyway, besides that. And no matter like where I went, it was either a lot of white people or it was black people, but it was like black cis het men, and I just felt extremely out of place. I didn't know if I was welcome there. It was like a lot of like lack of welcome from my experience at least. So a lot of the times I would just look for smaller groups because I feel like smaller groups are more intimate. Smaller groups, like you can connect to people a lot more. And it was just like, yeah, I would go to these events, didn't like it, couldn't vibe out, but I would meet like one or two people that like vibed with me and were able to share the same type of things that I liked or the same type of music that I would make. And yeah, it's just like a lot of trial and error in terms of finding people, a lot of trial and error in terms of feeling comfortable, and a lot of trial and error trying to find other queer members that are also in the hip hop community. Like, there's y'all, there's Backwash, there's... Notice how the same names keep coming up because it's literally so hard to find these people. It's so hard to find these people. And like, I wish there was like a, I don't know, like a internet hub or some shit where like we could just really... Right, that's true. Yeah, so I just like, as much as like representation is a thing, I just feel like just put these people on the platform because they deserve just as much recognition and just as much space and just as much like view as any other person. And it's just like, it shouldn't be a struggle, it shouldn't be a fight just to be heard or just to have your music be played. I don't know, like it's, yeah, it's just, it's tough. But you find your people. It sucks because it takes a long time, but you'll eventually find your people. But yeah, that's my my
Yeah, I'm honestly I've been like quite isolated, I think. I've like worked with the same producer for the past like 3 years, and now I'm finally like kind of like coming out and I'm meeting you guys, and like I think I don't have much to say as like a queer person in this space because I feel like I haven't been anywhere. Like I feel like I've just been in my house like making music. But I definitely understand what you guys are saying, and like I, as a person who's like been on the outside just kind of watching, I haven't seen, like I read that question and I was like, who? Like like you're right. Like there is like 3 people and like I don't know. It's just really crazy. Like where is everybody? You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Anyways, thanks for having me.
I have a few thoughts. One of them being, as either immigrants or children of immigrants, sometimes coming out is not an option. And so there becomes this like definitely like white like tender queer complex of if you don't tell me exactly what you are, you're not included. And that's like insane to me. And I think that it's really definitely important to like protect communities, you know, keep spaces as safe as possible, but like you can't like the expectation for people to know exactly what they are, feel comfortable being out publicly online is not fair. And that like some kind of balance needs to be achieved here because like it's just I don't know, something about it like doesn't sit right with me. And then also as like someone who receives a lot of PR, sometimes I can tell in the press kit that the only thing that this press agency focused on about the artists is the fact that they're queer. And I'm like, I actually like don't care. Like it's great. I just want to know if I like their music or not. Like I'm a queer person. I facilitate queer spaces. They're going to be included no matter what, which, but like, like, okay, like, thank you for the like fun fact, but like, just send me the SoundCloud link, like, God. And I don't know. I think this is like it's a difficult subject because like obviously representation is important, you know, making sure that that spaces are safe is important, making sure the right people are there, like all these things like are integral for our safety and like for community building, but also it becomes a performance that is very draining, can be dangerous, and I don't think is always needed. So I don't know. I think also part of it too is like in terms of like where is everyone? It does come down to like resources and like do white queers have more access to money and like someone's paying their rent and sometimes it's not them. Like for real though, and is this how they can afford a publicist? Maybe. Like the majority of the emails I get are for white people, and I'm not like, I don't know. It's just like this is like my entire inbox, and then like 30% is like more the community that I see around me, and I'm like, why though? And yeah, and I think it comes down to resources. It comes down to like, you know, knowledge sharing. Like no one tells you how to write a press kit, no one tells you how to email people, how to be professional online, how to have a website, you know, have a portfolio, like put your like no one tells you how to do distro, like, you know. And like I think like all of these things contribute to like a whiter scene in general and a more privileged scene, and like I don't know, it's just like it's yes, definitely. These are the things I have noticed.
I wanted to add on to what Malika was saying about representation for representation's sake. This happens to a lot of artists where spaces that are typically very cishet forward will find a popular queer artist and say, hey, do you want to come play on our thing? And they're like, why? Oh, well, we thought you were cool. Do you know what I do? Does it matter? And it's like, kind of. Because, like, for example, if you're like an Afrobeat artist and this is a electronic festival, it's like, why are you booking me? Have you actually done your research? And then they like pull some excuse out of their ass about diversifying. And I'm like, listen. If you're going to book us with your chest. Like actually want us there, actually have a reason to want us there. That isn't we fit the bill for your quota. Okay, we got to fill our queer quota. Then find a queer artist that actually does something relevant to your project, not just for the sake of putting somebody on there to say, see, we have a queer, and it's like, but we have a singular queer. And there's and not only does that not make your organization look any smarter or any more woke, because now the war is on the word woke. Thank you to Frankie Legs for that. It doesn't make the artist feel safe either, because it's like not only do they now have to make themselves small because they are not in a space where they feel safe to be their queer authentic selves, now they also have to prove why their art is valid in this space, because it's like, do you see? And I'm just like, no, man, like actually try, like put in an effort. I don't care that you have pronouns in your bio. If you're not trying, it's not going to work. Aussi simple que ça. Did you have something to say?
No, I'm okay.
Yes, I agree.
Wait, I have something to say. Yeah, and I think also just the idea of then like, okay, but then regularly in your venue, in the festivals that you do, in the radio shows that you do, like, are there queer and trans people? Because if you're just like doing this for like one-off stuff or just like for Pride Month or whatever, and like, what is actually like, who is in charge of who has access to decision making and to creating content and stuff like that? Most likely, no one that is queer and slash or trans, and that is a huge problem. That is just tokenization, and we can just call it that. And also, when we're talking also about, just for example, tender queers, who are most of the times, a lot of times white, and then they're going back to what you're saying, Mike, just like, oh, well, if you do not tell me exactly how you label yourself, what your queer identity is, then like you cannot be here. It is not like safe. We need to know like every aspect of your sexuality and your gender in order for this to feel safe, is not accessible. It is not accessible, and it can be like extremely dangerous. But I think also the reasons why is because a lot of white queers just really want to hold on to the fact that they're queer or trans or non-binary and just be like, see, I am also like oppressed. I'm also discriminated against, and that is why the queerness and the transness and the non-binariness is so like there. It's like, you know, there in everything that they do, in every way that they present themselves. And I'm not saying like that's not not okay, and like don't like, you know, don't be out here like being proud of like who you are. But I think that is also something that we really need to think about. We really do need to think about, and that is in terms of accessibility and in terms of like safety. And if a white person can just go on and just like back everything that they do with just like the queerness and their transness in front of everything, there is also a lot of them in like tender queers that are just kind of just like, because they think that that absolve them of their whiteness, and they're just like, ben moi aussi je suis oppressé, puis toutes ces affaires-là. It's not the same thing. And I also, as like intervention worker, if like a white youth who is queer is like coming to me and like talking to me about like internalized homophobia, it is different from if there is an indigenous queer person that is talking to me about that internalized homophobia, because the internalized homophobia is different. It's coming from different place. It's coming from literal genocide and colonization. It's not the same thing. So you cannot accept like a person of color, a Black person, indigenous person, to have the same access to coming out as you do. And it is really a huge thing to put yourself out there. And we, you know, that is why also coming back to kind of like what Mags was like saying, that is just kind of like, yeah, okay, you know, why are we just like labeled as like weird people who like happen to be doing this or that? And it's, we need to think about that. We need to think about the accessibility about that and the safety around that as well. And another thing that I wanted to point out, we were all talking about just kind of like, you know, there's all three people that we can name, like the same names that keep like coming up a lot. And one of the reasons why I found specifically in Quebec, c'est parce que premièrement, all of these people are just most likely not born here and like come from here. And or also just because they leave, because Quebec is trash. They leave. They literally leave because Quebec is so trash. It's so trash. And then you have le visage de hip-hop au Québec qui littéralement genre loud, this white man that looks like every like genre hacky sack player que tu vas voir au Mont-Royal. And like this is what is happening. Puis ça prend que genre une personne quitte for you to be like, oh, this is like happening. And also I think also je vais rentrer dans un autre sujet, but I think also we need to talk about nepotism. I feel like there is so much nepotism like going on in Quebec. It's like insane. And I think there is something as well that like for like people of color and black people and Disney people that just like happen to like make it a lot as well too. What kind of like happens is that this idea that like you can't like collab with people outside of your circle, and that kind of makes me like wonder like again, are we like actually like here for like the community, or are we actually here to just like be in like our circles of friends and just like keep it so impossible for people to have like access to like like yeah, like learning all those like skill based things of like grant writing, putting on a press kit, um and literally like helping each other out that I feel is just like not really happening here. Not really. And it's sad. It really is sad. But then there's cute events like this where we like share stuff and are here together. And I think it's like starting to like be more of a thing that we're actually like, no, we need to really like radicalize the way that we do say we want to show up for community. And that doesn't just mean like notre cercle de gars, de chum de gars, genre, you know? So, yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I think also, like maybe as a final note, unless anyone else has a thought that they would like to share, I think obviously the pandemic's not over, but coming out of this last era of pandemic, something I've been thinking about a lot is, you know, all the kids who were, say, 16, 17 are now able to go out. They're starting to go out. They're looking for these communities, and they can't find them because they haven't been around, because venues don't exist. Everyone's at home, fucking afraid to maybe die. Like, you know, it's like kind of fucked up. And so there's like this whole kind of new wave of people and people who've just moved to the city too, who don't know where to go and don't know how to find other people like them. And I think this is like, not to go off too much, I think this is one of the reasons why like parties and stuff have been getting shut down so much, because there's less of collective like community communication about how to run these things and how to deal with police and how to like, you know, show up for your community in a real way, just literally because people have not been able to be there in real life and like talk about these things and experience them and watch people older than them run spaces and be like, oh, that's how I should do it. And I don't know, I think like conversations like these are really good places to start, but I've just been thinking a lot about like, how does this transfer to real life? How does this transfer outside of our circles? You know, like as much as I love to do things online, if it doesn't impact the people I see around me and the people in the neighborhood, what does it matter? Like, I'm not here for the online social clout. That shit gives me anxiety. Like, do not perceive me. But I know that this is like a conduit to creating like a better overall community and environment. And I don't know, I think with all these things that we've talked about, like it's important to be like, okay, but like what do we do? Like how does this happen in real life? And how does it go beyond us? And I don't know. That's all I have to say. We can talk about astrology now.
Well, thank you all. Thank you to the panelists. Thank you to our moderator in Neolabs. We are reaching the end of this first half of the program. We're going to conclude the speaking portion of the Digital Sleepover with a little fun guessing game. Of what do you mean? So for those who don't know, hip hop is considered to have been born on August 11th when DJ Kool Herc hosted a DJ party in New York City. Or was it Brooklyn? Anyway, it was in New York, and somebody actually made a joke. Shout out to Schmings. He pointed out that, oh, of course hip hop is a Leo, and I was like, wait a minute. I proceeded to immediately Google the birth chart of hip hop culture, and I was like, there's no way somebody went on Al Gore's internet to make a hip hop birth chart, but they did, and there is one. And so I'm going to now have our esteemed guests and moderator guess a few of the placements for for our dear culture that we call hip hop. So as you know, it is a Leo. Now I'm going to read you a few prompts that are going to then incite you to guess what that placement might be. Okay, are we all ready? Well, it's too late. We've already begun. Let's see. Thank you all for tuning in, by the way, all of you at home. So you said, okay. Shout out the Twitch chat. There is a Twitch chat. Is anyone talking? Yes. Because we don't have the Twitch on the screen, it's over there. So the first prompt, okay. You said, do you want to pull it up? The chat?
Yeah, pull it up.
I mean, low key, we kind of want to see. But while you do that, if that is possible and it won't disrupt the stream, I will read the first prompt. With the blend of the sun in Leo and the moon in blank, hip-hop's life force is fueled by creative self-expression, ego acknowledgement, and validation of its identity. Okay? It desires to be noticed as a shining and authoritative force in the world. This is reflected in a personality form which has reigning need for status and recognition. One sign? Yes, for the moon sign. It's nourished by its influence over the masses, its ambition, and the ability to make things happen. What is hip-hop's moon?
Capricorn.
Leo.
Malika says Leo. You have to come here and look at it. I'm not gonna say it over. I'm not gonna say.
I say Capricorn.
Oh, you said Capricorn? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's Leo too. Leo.
I'm gonna guess Aquarius.
Pisces.
Scorpio.
You can't change.
The correct answer is Capricorn.
Wow. Okay, the cat got it right.
You know,
I got it right.
ambition things, making things happen, you know.
What do I win?
Next prompt.
Wait, what do I win?
What do you... This is your event. You don't get to win anything. You're hosting, and you're not even here.
Stop. But I got it, though.
I have your check. When you come back, I'll give it to you.
I have the right answer.
Stop crying, okay? That's that Pisces going on. You know it's a moon in Pisces today?
I know, and my moon's in Pisces.
See, that's so... You see? All right, the next prompt. Mercury in blank's communication needs center around oratorical flamboyance and the unquestioning self-assurance which makes heroes and heroines. What is hip-hop's Mercury? And for those at home who don't know what that means, Mercury controls your communication and learning style.
Wait, 2 secondes. Peux-tu le redire? Ça le bug pour moi.
All right. Mercury in blank communication needs center around oratorical flamboyance, okay? And the unquestioning self-assurance which makes heroes and heroines.
Oh, shit. I'm ready.
Sagittarius, because mine is the same and I know that shit.
I'm gonna guess Leo.
I don't have a guess, so I'll just say null. Sorry.
Sag.
Wait, I'll say, what's that other one? Oh, no, sorry. The other fire. Oh, Aries? No, I'm not going to guess Aries. What the fuck was the thing? I can't guess. I'm sorry. I'll say a fire sign. That's all I'll say.
Gemini.
The correct answer is Leo. Think about it. All these motherfuckers rapping, bravado, boasting, showing off. That has to be a Mercury in Leo. Done it? You know? Right. We'll do one more, and then we'll get into these DJ sets, right? This is in regards to the Venus. There are regular and sometimes volatile discussions about what staying true to pure hip-hop culture actually means. So this might result in the dynamic of large-scale striving in the world with less thought of hip-hop's efficient functioning or competence when placed in a social and relational context.
Um,
You said, huh?
I
You said,
say
pardon me.
I say Gemini.
Gemini?
Come back to me.
I think it's an air sign. I also want to guess Gemini.
Aqua.
I don't know.
Aries? I don't know.
The correct answer is Virgo.
What?
Venus in Virgo's tight square to the Sagittarius midheaven is indicative of developmental tension between the purity of culture which hip-hop seeks to preserve and the universal face it wishes to present to the world as its crowning achievement. This all just to say me and hip-hop share a Venus. We're both Venus and Virgos. So shout outs to me. I'm kidding. Fun fact also, hip-hop is apparently a Pisces rising. That's cute and fruit. That's hashtag stay cute, stay fruit at home, y'all. Look it up. Google me, baby. But yes, this has been the Digital Sleepover panel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to Malaika from Also Cool. Thank you to Khadija, Faniva, Juice, Magi Melna, and all of you at home. This is part of the Hip Hop You Don't Stop 2021 programming. We will take a short break while our esteemed DJs get ready to spin some tunes. Don't go, you already here. That exactly. So let's get ready. All of you at home, let's get ready to turn it up. Am I hungry? Absolutely. I've had a very long day. Yeah, let's order pizza and we'll...
Right.